Hello, friends, and welcome into another episode of the Marriage Talk podcast. It is great to have you with us. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button, whether you're listening to the audio version or maybe you're watching on the Marriage Talk YouTube channel, because today's conversation is also in video form. And at least three of the five people involved have faces for radio. So you can really see how all of this comes together. And Bill Hobson here, along with Jay and Laura LaFoon, as always. And you can find out all sorts of information on their ministry at jayandlaura.com. And it's always fun, Jay and Laura, when we have the chance to connect with some very special guests. And anytime I see a book title like Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti, now you've triggered my food side of my brain to also dive into the relationship side of things, and a really special conversation coming up with Bill and Pam Farrel. So I'm going to let you handle the introductions.
Well, there's people that you like, and there's people that you love, and then there's people that you both not only like but you love them as well. And Bill and Pam fall into that category for us. We've known them for a long, long time, probably 2 decades. We love them as people. We love them as authors, as communicators. They're just very much people that we respect and have walked alongside doing ministry together. That's been a lot of fun at conferences. We did a cruise together, and they're just there are very few husband and wife marriage teams out there, and Bill and Pam really kind of have led the way. That's my way of saying they're older than us, but they've really led the way.
Yeah, I want you to know we're officially mature now.
Are you?
Medicare card, so we're officially mature.
Okay, that's
Even though I think it's you that told me if you don't grow up by the time you're 50, you don't have to.
That's right. That's right.
Deal.
And basically, most men are 8-year-olds who shave. We just we never lose that inner child. But so glad you guys have honored us with your presence, particularly with the topic that we're going to touch on today. Because, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the topic is connected to me violating today's dress code, which I did not know about. As we record this conversation, it's unofficially known as Teal Tuesday, which leads into what basically Bill and Pam have been dealing with here for quite some time. So officially welcome to Marriage Talk, and maybe I'll have you color in the details about Teal Tuesday and why that matters.
Sorry,
Sure.
Bill, I didn't let you know. I was just like, sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. I
Little
told
teal
you where-
shirt.
I got my
Yeah,
teal
got a little-
representing.
yeah.
I'll be
He's never worn more teal than he does right now. Teal Tuesday stands for ovarian cancer. It's the color of the ribbon for ovarian cancer. And last Mother's Day,
But before, just the reality of life is there are times when life just throws distractions and interruptions at you and tries to pull you apart.
right? But
Like, we're all going to face that stuff. We all get reports, whether it's health reports, financial reports, some experience in our circle,
our
of our
children,
community. Like we never know when life is going to get interrupted, and you have to draw on something inside of you to pull yourselves back together. And we had one of those big interruptions this year.
right. So Mother's Day, we were going back to see we live in California. Typically we live on a boat, which is
Let's
like
pray for you right
hashtag
now.
fun. Yeah. That like hashtag fun, crazy midlife adventure. That's why we did what we did during we're caregiving Bill's folks too. And but we took that Mother's Day to pick up my mom, who's great grandma, and go visit the newest grandchild, and back in Indiana, and our wonderful son Caleb and Jessica, who is a physical therapist. Really great to have a doctor in the family. Anyway, we were visiting them and we landed.
And the day of travel was the most uneventful day traveling we've ever had. Like, it was
Like
it was
great
boring.
flights, everything
Like,
worked
the first flight was on time. We met her mom in Salt Lake City. We had plenty of time between our flight landing, getting her off of the shuttle bus, waiting for our next flight. The next flight left on time. The layover at the next city was on time. Like we got to Louisville Airport about 10:30 at night. We're tired, but it was a boring day of travel.
And my mom's a nervous traveler, so she was a very happy camper.
Yeah.
Because everything went well. And we gave hugs all around and everybody just went to bed. And about 3 in the morning, I just had excruciating pain, like worse pain than any childbirth I've ever experienced. And I tried to like gut it out because it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And by taking like over-the-counter pain meds and walking around and like, yeah, but it's not working. It's not working. So about sunrise, I like wake Bill up. You have got to give me to the
And Jay,
doctor.
she was in so much pain, she was irrational.
Yeah.
Like Pam, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your pain? 12. It's just out of control. I'm like,
It's 150. So we were actually watching JJ, our grandson, and my mom was there. So Bill gets JJ loaded up. He calls our son to meet us at the ER, and our son is giving us directions to the nearest hospital. And Bill puts it into the GPS, and it says turn right on Mercy Way, and I'm like, that's on Mercy right now. And we get into the ER, and I'm the only one there. I'm like, yay, thank you, God. But I'm still like just agonizing, wailing in pain. And I am like a tough cookie. Like usually I just suck up my pain and take it like a, cowboy up girl that I was raised to be.
Like the doctor at the ER, you could tell she's kind of rolling her eyes.
She's like, oh, wow.
We
Is
got
this really that?
roommate. and you could tell they just weren't taking it that seriously because I'm sure they see a lot of patients in the ER and, they
Little
see all
drama.
that. And then they
did a bunch of tests, and the test came back that I had an ovarian cyst that was the size of like 3 cell phones. So big, and it twisted and torqued. And so that's where the excruciating pain was coming from.
Sure.
And so they dealt with my pain. They sent me to the main hospital, and the doctor walked in and he introduced himself, and he's like, wait a minute, Bill and Pam Farrel, like, are you famous or something? Why do I know that name? And Bill said, well, we do write. We have this book called Men Are Like Waffles Like Spaghetti. And the doctor's like, I have that book. I've done that with my wife. We've read it together. And so he prayed over us before anything even started. That wonderful Christian.
Wow.
Yeah. So we felt like God had taken us all the way back east to be in the right place with the right doctor at the right time. And then he caused the pain. And pain actually saved my life, because I was, they operated and they found ovarian cancer, which ovarian cancer is like a whisper. Most women don't even know about it. There's like a little stitch in the side, or like their tummy just doesn't feel well. And then all of a sudden they have stage 4 cancer. But God like caused a ton of pain so mine could be caught at stage 1. And I'm currently in chemo every 3 weeks, with my last one coming up right around the corner. And we talk about Teal Tuesday. One of the things that keeps my mindset where it needs to be is I do a Facebook Live, and I teach every Tuesday, and I share what is going on, physically with me, but more so spiritually. Like, what is God doing to keep our relationship strong, to keep my life strong, keep my relationship with my kids strong, to keep me mentally in a positive place? Because it is really true, the stats, couples that pray together not only have a closer relationship, but prayer helps you get better. Like, it helps you stay well. There's this miracle thing that happens when God joins you in it. So it's all wrapped up in one beautiful teal package with a bow on top.
Wow. So Pam, when you give that description, I'm thinking of being a listener to this conversation right now, and most likely somebody has decided to listen or to watch because they may be dealing with a sudden health diagnosis that has stopped everything in its tracks in their family, and now they're wondering how they should handle this. When you all first got the news, that in that moment, can you describe your reaction at that time and how different you were then from how you are right now?
Oh, I'll start because mine's kind of an unusual example because about 2 years ago from this week, I had a diabetic coma happen in the ICU where to save my life, they put me into a medically induced coma. And I write about it in my book, Glimpse of God's Glory, One Woman's Near-Death Experience. And God just took me to the heavenlies, and it was beautiful, and it was wonderful, and it was peaceful, full of love. It was everything you read about heaven. And so God ministered to me there. He says he will be our Emmanuel, God with us. And people say, "Did you see God?" And I'm like, "No, he was wrapped around me. My wonderful counselor, my mighty God, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace, wrapped around me and held me during those hours that Bill was in the ER and in the ICU praying that I would live." So our experiences are very different. Bill likes to say I got the like Hallmark, Disneyland, Broadway version.
Rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, and he got like the hardcore reality TV version.
Yeah.
So you can pick up what.
Yeah, but then God sent you back to Bill. So really, that bubble.
Back to reality.
Which is wonderful.
And Bill, it's a great question. Like, how do you respond when you get the news? And the only way I can describe is for a week and a half of our life, it was a roller coaster. Because going to the ER, find out Pam's got this huge cyst in her, and as a husband, I just went into like hyper focus mode.
Yes.
I got to be here for Pam. I got to do the right things at the right time, ask the right questions, and I could feel all the tension in my life just turned into this like extreme focus. I'm on high alert, and so I am interviewing the doctor, and I told him, look, I want to know everything. I want to know who you are. I want to know what your credentials are. I want to know what you're going to do. I want to know what the diagnosis is. Don't treat me like I don't want to hear stuff. And then I'm thinking he probably doesn't believe me, so I got to push him to make sure he knows. And so I get him convinced that, yeah, I want to hear everything, and end up being really impressed with him. So then I take kind of a deep breath, and go, oh God, you sent us a doctor who's like, he's on it. He's talented. He knows what's going on. He's being appropriately humble, but also informing us. And then the question of cancer comes up, and we go, okay, is this just a cyst, or are we dealing with cancer?
So Bill's like trying to process the word cancer, and I am, well, you know what? I've been to heaven, and it's a great place. So if I hear the worst diagnosis, there is no downside for me. Now there's a downside for my husband. There's a downside for my family. There's a downside for my grandkids. There's a downside in, being a writer, speaker. But personally, I knew I would be in great hands, God's hands. So I took it probably better than a lot of people take that news, hearing the word cancer, because of the backstory that I had gone through 2 years before. And so Bill, one of the reasons I could be in so much peace, 2 years before, is because Bill is such a great advocate. And I could hear him interacting with the doctors as I was going under in ICU that day, and when they put me in the medically induced coma. And I had confidence, highest confidence in Bill, that he would make every decision that would be in my best interest. And he would run to the issue. He would not run away from the issue. And that's really 45 years of being in love with this quality man that gave me that kind of confidence.
Which is both an asset and a frustration, because I like to know information's flying at us. So we get this diagnosis of a cyst. they have a test that they can test for a cancer marker to see if ovarian cancer is there. So the first test comes back, the number's pretty low. So the assumption is, oh, I don't think there's cancer. This is just a cyst. We're going to be able to take it out. It's just going to be an operation. And we're running with that for about a day and a half. And then the doctor comes in and says, well, there's maybe an 85% chance that we're not dealing with cancer. There's still a 15% chance that it could be. And we're like, oh, okay, so we can't take that off the table. So now I'm praying, God, please let this just be an operation. And then you have to deal with the medical community, so everything's delayed.
Right.
So we go into the hospital on Friday. Pam spends Mother's Day in the hospital.
Right.
And so we're trying to make the best of Mother's Day with Pam in the hospital. And the one person that we want to go in and see her is her 18-month-old grandson, who's not allowed in the hospital.
Yeah.
Because he's going to bring germs.
Right.
And we got to work through all that. And then we get told, well, it could be cancer. So I'm praying that it isn't. And we got to wait till the next Thursday for the operation.
So it's the waiting that is one of the hardest things. And that's why it's really good to cultivate what you will do in the wait anytime you're waiting. You know, whether it's a life and death situation or whether it's like you're waiting for the paycheck so you can like pay your bill on Friday. If you wait in faith, and that is like, I'm going to focus on God. I'm going to focus on being the kindest patient ever. I'm going to focus on blessing my husband, blessing my family that's come to visit. I'm work on what comes out of my mouth is life-giving. If you decide ahead of time what you're going to do in any wait, that when you get into a situation where it's life and death, it just is natural that you are who you are in the wait.
Well, that right there is gold. And that's not gold just for if you're facing cancer. That's gold for everyone all the time, because all of us experience times of wait where we're not hearing directly from the Lord. He's telling us to be patient. Maybe he's not even telling us to be patient. He's just making us be patient. But yeah, how we respond in the wait is huge, because we can respond in a way that glorifies God, or we can respond in a way that is not pretty and hurts other people. And so Bill Hobson, I need you to understand something about Bill Farrel. Bill looks like mild-mannered Clark Kent here, you know. If he were not a Christian, I could picture him as that smiling assassin, okay? Because he's very intense, and but he doesn't show it. And so I'm just picturing Bill in the hospital and the way in which you are gently but firmly going after all this information.
Because he's a protector, right?
He is indeed.
Yeah. And I think any couple that has faced health issues, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, there's some selfish motivation in here as well.
Yeah, I want my wife to be alive.
Yeah, exactly. Don't go dying on me.
I've told her.
Yeah, I can't.
I don't market well. So the only thing I require of you is that you do not die.
Right.
Marketing manager.
Right. Well, and that's the interesting thing. When my dad died, that was the one thing that my mom was most upset about, was that I was supposed to go first, not him. And I think it's not selfish, but yet it can come across as selfish. It's really, this is a gift God's given us, and I don't want that gift to end.
Right.
And so, yeah, anybody who's faced health issues, Laura went through a heart scare a year or so ago, and I was like, Lord, are you kidding me? She's the brains of the operation. What's going to happen if she goes? Yeah. I can't even do the dishes, for crying out loud.
And you guys know more than the average couple would know. Like when I think of Jay, I think of Jay and Laura. When I think of Laura, I think of Jay and Laura. When you think of Bill and Pam, it's one sentence. Right. And so it does impact us at an even deeper level, because economically, it's a part of like how God provides for, you know, us and our families.
I've prayed that, you know, the Lord takes us at the same time.
Right.
And that, you know, obviously Laura will be driving if that happens, but
That's how I drive, Laura. I got 2 speeding tickets on 2 different coasts on the same day, Mother's Day. It's a perfect story.
Okay, so she's an elder in our church, and she had an elder meeting last night, and she gets a mile from our house.
Okay, but first, let's repeat this. That we've commented, we have a car that's about 3 or 4 years old, and we've said it's a smarter car than we are smart.
Our car's smarter than us.
There, I want to preface this with that.
So her meeting was literally 30 minutes from our house, and she gets a mile from our house, and a police officer pulls her over. Ma'am, do you realize you don't have your lights on? She drove on interstate highways without her lights on.
I don't drive that much. We have one car. He does all the driving, and I know that the lights are supposed to come on automatically. So I just got in the car, and one of my elder friends texted me later last night, and I didn't see it. He said, I tried to find your number and I couldn't find it. I wanted to let you know your lights weren't on. I'm like, well, I wish I'd seen that a lot sooner, because the police officer was very nice. The first thing he said was, so ma'am, how old is this car?
How old are you?
No, he didn't say that. I said, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years old. I said, it's a way smarter car than I am. He's like, well, I just want to let you know that your lights aren't on. And I said, well, I knew I wasn't speeding, because we have a road in our middle of our town that you have to go 25 or they're going to pull you over. And I always go 23, and I pay attention. I knew I wasn't. And he's like, let me just give you a few tips. So he shows me how to turn my lights on and keep them on. And he still had to take my license and stuff. And
She didn't get a ticket, though.
I did not get a ticket.
All that to say,
I was going to say, what was the point of that story?
all couples that are truly honoring the Lord, honoring each other, walking through this life together, stand in fear and trembling when they hear that their spouse is potentially going to die.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a earth shattering. And I love what you guys said earlier. Is this going to pull us apart or draw us together? Tell us how.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Was we get emails all the time from people who, my wife is sick, my husband's sick, they've been sick for 2 years, they've had this, they've had that. What do we do? What are some tips? This has been a theme for about the last 2 years.
Yeah.
What are some tips? I'm taking care of my parents. I know you guys are doing that too. You're taking care of Bill's parents. How do we put all this? It's life. It's gonna happen. But as people who want to have a healthy marriage, and then you've got unhealthy situations, and you've got lots of time consuming situations, what are some tips for couples on, for lack of a better word, having your marriage survive these types of situations?
Yeah. And we even want to step it up and say thrive. And most people can't picture that word thrive with languishing that's going on, but that's the kind of God we have. Yes. That he steps in and he provides himself. And so some of the simple tips are try to look at what's going on through God's eyes. And that means you might need to reach out to a pastor, your Bible study teacher, another couple who has walked this road, and you admire their faith. It might mean, getting into the word, maybe the Psalms, because David is so honest in the Psalms. I mean, Saul was chasing him, trying to kill him as a young man. So He understands death. So the first is try to look at things through God's eyes and try to plant yourself there. Because as you plant yourself there, he will give you strength. Like I have a wristband that says through his strength. It's teal, and it's Psalms 18:32. My God arms me with strength and makes my path secure. It's just one of many verses that God has sent my way through friends, through verses, through books other friends have written on cancer and their journeys. So just get everything positive in your brain that you can, but not just the patient, both of you. And now Bill doesn't read the same books at the same time as me, but there are 3 devotionals aimed at cancer patients that are just sitting like on our coffee table that he can pick up anytime. But more likely he's going to be picking up things that will help him be a strong spouse, a caring spouse, a mighty warrior man. And so that's the first thing, just God's perspective. The second thing, and then I'll have Bill chime in with his pastoral view. The second thing is, as the patient, do as much as you possibly can to be as normal as you possibly can. And what I mean is, like, so I can't carry heavy things right now. I used to be very like,
I got it.
I got no
I got
worries.
it.
I'm independent. Yeah, I'll carry it. I'll pack all the whole car, and Bill be like, I'll do it, Pam, I'll do it.
No, I got it.
It's 50-50. I want to help get us out of here. So I was very strong physically. Like I was very in shape. And that is not true right now. I am fragile. And so that means, okay, what can I do? Well, I can make some meals. I can't make all meals. Like some days I'm just like not there. I'm nauseous or I'm just weak, and Bill steps in. But on the days I feel good, hey, let's get back to normal. Have me make the meals. I'll go grocery shopping. The other day I went grocery shopping and my sunglasses on because I was crying all the way through the grocery store because I needed the steps, but I was in pain. But it was something I could do. But the most important thing that I can do is be a positive person. Like I not take out my frustration of the disease on the people around me. It's not their fault I got cancer. It's not their fault that I have diabetes 1.5 that makes me, a little bit hard to manage, a high maintenance woman. And so I want to try my very best for every word that comes out of my mouth to be life-giving. Because if God does take me home, that's how I want people to remember me, as a life-giving person, positive, full of faith, kind with my words.
So as the one who's been in the caretaking role, I would say to everybody that the thing I learned that has been most helpful is that our emotions in life follow our decisions. And when you get any kind of interruptive news, it becomes very emotional. And because I knew that, I knew making decisions about what we're going through was going to help me maintain emotional control. And so I learned through taking care of my parents and then taking care of Pam is, as the caretaker, you have to define your role.
Right.
You can't let the illness define your role, and you can't let the needs of the individual who's hurting define your role, because it'll overwhelm you.
Yeah.
It'll steamroll you and it'll take you out because the needs are too big and the needs are too pervasive. So like I had to define, okay, what role am I going to play in Pam's life? What kind of caretaker am I going to be? What kind of attention am I going to give her? What are the things I'm going to allow her to struggle through? Because I know I can't carry her whole life.
Mhm.
And I would say to anybody who's in the caretaker role, courageously define your role. And that applies to, like, when I started taking care of my elderly parents, I had to go in and redefine their life, which was very uncomfortable. And they weren't really prepared for it. Like, I tried to set it up. I went and met with my dad and said, Dad, we need to meet with Mom because things have to change here. And here's the things that I need to put in place so that I can take care of you guys. But I need you to set the pace. So, Dad, here's what I need you to say to Mom. And I gave him a little short script. So we got to meet with my mom, and my dad says, Hey, Betsy, Bill has something he wants to say to you.
See, again, I think
oh,
what you've just shared is, again, a nugget of gold for
Yeah.
everyone, because one of the things we hear from people, and particularly the caregiver, is, I'm just exhausted.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have nothing left to give. And the reason they're exhausted is because they have not set those boundaries.
Yeah.
They have not declared their ability.
Yeah.
Here's as far as I can go.
Yeah.
And that really that's gold. Because you're human. You're not Superman. You're not Jesus, not Jesus Jr. You don't have unlimited supernatural powers. And that was just a light bulb for me, because we have so many people come up to us and say, this is what's been happening. and I am just exhausted.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to take care of yourself
Mhm.
before you can take care of someone else.
That's right.
I mean, that's not selfish. That's really being very, very generous because
Yeah.
you're taking care of yourself in order to take care of someone else.
You'll actually live longer. Caregivers, the longer they give care, the lower their mortality rate. So they actually do give their life for the other. And so it's really important that you establish those boundaries and what refuels you and how can we keep that in the relationship. And like on my side, I have some fabulous friends. And so Bill knows that if he needs to, like, let's say even go preach someplace, but I'm not up to it that day. One of my fabulous friends can, my seasoned sisters can come up for the day, or I could go down there, but they would be my caregiver while Bill handles his work responsibilities. So helping him, like, honey, I think you need a day off. So I'm just gonna have a really chill day. I'm just gonna be writing. I shouldn't have any needs today. So this is a great day for you to go to the boat because you love to go to the boat. So hey, why don't you do that and help refill. Now there'll be times when the person you're caregiving is beyond that place. But if you've practiced good boundaries ahead of time, you will see it in yourself.
Sure.
Wow, I need to call one of my sons to step in for a day. I need to ask my friendship circle who can be with Pam while I just get some sleep. Bill, when he was caregiving his dad, we had it set up so that his dad could just call Alexa and it would phone Bill. And how many times was that one night that he phoned?
26 times between midnight and 3 a.m.
Wondering when breakfast was.
Same conversation. Bill, when you coming down? I'll be there at 6. Okay, see you at 6. 3 minutes later. Wait, Bill, when you coming down? Because his mind had gotten to where he couldn't remember that he had called.
Right. And so Bill just needed me to take over that day and he could have a nap. I mean, he just needed some sleep. So it's just expressing your needs. And
I don't want this to sound cliche, but it really is a communication issue.
Oh yeah.
That as a couple, I need to hear what she needs. She needs to hear what I need, and we need to figure out. One of my favorite phrases that my wife uses is we're going to figure this out.
Oh, nice.
Whenever she says that, I'm always like, okay, because that's what she does is she figures things out.
It goes, I mean, you guys have preached it. We've preached it. Anybody in marriage ministry has communication is key.
It is.
In your marriage, if you don't have any of these crises going on, that's why we continue to talk about communication, because if you don't communicate in the times where there is no crisis, you're not going to communicate when there is crisis.
That's right.
And it's so important to learn how to communicate, whether it's painful communication, it's joyful communication, whatever it is, you've got to communicate as a husband and wife. And so that when these times happen, you already have that habit built in. You already have that habit of, you know what, we can figure this out because we figured out other things, and we can figure this out too. And so,
in line with that, you guys, my second strong suggestion to anybody who gets hit with one of these situations is you define the situation. Don't let the situation define you.
Right.
So like when we knew Pam was going to lose her hair, and it was really obvious, her hair was starting to come out and then it got all matted.
The big conference that I was speaking at, and I on Thursday, I said to the girls in the room that were all authors and speakers, about 100, I'm like, girls, if you want a picture of me holding your book with me having hair, you got to take it today. Because by Monday, I don't think I'm going to have any hair. And that was exactly right. And it was just falling out by the handfuls. And I was going to, on Tuesday, come back home, be in chemo. And then, Bill, I need to get my hair shaved off on Tuesday. It was a priority. And so Bill came with me. He knew that was one of the things that was a little bit of a struggle. Most of cancer I just took in stride, but I'm like, wow, it's a long time since I had really short hair, and I'm going to have no hair. And so he came with me to film it.
Well, before we went, I went online and I got a picture of one of those ladies from the Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
That has, big earrings, dressed as a warrior, no
Shaved
hair.
Yeah.
And I said, Cam, we're going into warrior mode.
And so I had friends that gave me like 20 different warrior big old earrings. And I have a friend that gave me warrior princess t-shirt. So they all jumped on Bill's warrior girl bandwagon. And I thought that's the kind of attitude I need to take in getting my head shaved. So we went to the like the local, what's it called? Just
the
like hairstylist. Yeah. And so I told them what I wanted to have done. And one of them, her husband was on hospice. And so we started talking about my whole near-death experience. And I ended up going back and giving her a copy of Glimpse of God's Glory and giving her a copy of Discovering Hope in the Psalms. And the girl who actually shaved my head, she was a single mom. So I gave her 10 best decisions a single mom can make, and one of the Bible studies. And I also, we were able to talk about God the whole hour and a half it took to shave my head. And then it was like humor entered. And I started saying oh, wow, look at all the time I'm saving, an hour to do my hair every day. And I have that hour back. I can write during that hour. And wow, honey, look at all that you're saving on hair products that
she has a perfectly formed head.
I know. I said that on one of not everybody can have a beautiful head like Pam does. And your hair.
Sorry, Bill Pops.
It's kind of fun, but
kind of like Bill, like he's got the perfect head.
I am in the room here. I can hear. Some of us appreciate the savings of time that comes about having so much hair. I also want to kind of reset the scope of our conversation just for a moment, because we actually had planned two separate conversations, but in reality, they flow one into the other. They can't be separated. As you're talking about the first part about the kind of the traumatic moment of diagnosis, the formation of a battle plan, the discovery of what in sports vernacular would be the strength of your bench with friends and family coming along, it naturally has to flow into the communication side of things and the trust side of things. The two of you can't be a championship team if there's not trust in there. And you certainly are going to have a hard time doing it if you're not communicating properly. In our family, we have been trying to come around and support a niece who, through an accident, became a quadriplegic in April, going from being the most in shape, fit Amazon to now completely dependent on others around her. And her husband has been just an incredible example of serving in physical ways and in spiritual ways. And here's 4 kids under the age of 15 who will probably, barring a miracle from the Lord, they'll probably not ever have mom back like she was.
Right.
And I started thinking about the importance of a bench. No championship team only has a first string.
Yeah.
They all have somebody they can go to when fatigue sets in. I'll drop the sports analogies from there. But as you talk about trust, not just between yourself, but in the relationships with those around you, could you kind of speak to how that has been a blessing to the two of you to see others say, we're part of this as well?
I think that is the benefit of the local church. Bill was a pastor. And so we were the ones walking people through these kind of crises, for several decades. And one of the things that I always remember my wise husband saying is, okay, this is a twofold plan. We're going to have the immediate plan right now to survive. And then we're going to gather your friends and your family, and we're going to create a long-term plan to help you go the distance. And it's so wise, because yes, there has to be triage, that ER, that ICU mentality. Who's going to watch the kids right now while mom and dad are at the hospital? And when you are involved in the local church, you sow seeds into other people. And then when crisis hits your household, those people want to give back to you. They want to be a part of your bench. They want to be a part of your team. And if there's ever a plea from my heart to everybody in the audience is get in a local church and really become family with those people in that local church, care for one another at that level. And then in your moment of need, some of those people will rise up, beautifully rise up, and you will
Some
be
of them will
so
be people you
blessed.
never expected.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you cared about me in this way. But it's only because we've hung out in the after church and had a conversation about whatever, and
I
I'll
talked in the
yeah,
lobby. Yeah.
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 And Bill, going with your analogy, if you got to have a strong bench, the bench follows the lead of the coach.
Yeah.
So when you're in the caregiving role like I am, if you define for people how they can help, people are interested in helping.
Yeah, they always say, "What can I do for you?" And so instead of saying that, like, if Bill says Pam needs her she shed set up, she's not strong enough. So my friends come up and they set up this place that you see right now, this beautiful she shed.
And what I've noticed is people take their cues from me. So like they pick up our attitude. One of the things we started saying early on in this journey is, hey, we are now on the path to greatness. Because the Bible says if you want to be great in God's kingdom, become the servant of all.
And so it started when we started caregiving Bill's parents 8 years ago, because Bill's mom's agoraphobic, and she was pretty volatile in her emotions, and she's a hoarder. So she's like not easy and hasn't been like our whole married life. And then Bill's dad, though, who is the champion, who is like a rocket science engineer, literally, when he started getting fragile physically, so we have a fragile of mind and fragile of body, that meant Bill and I, oftentimes Bill had to be on site much longer. And so I kind of picked up the ministry side of things as much as I possibly could to make time for this. And so one day we were driving together back home to Bill's parents' house. And he said, "How do you feel about being on the path to greatness?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, if you want to be great in God's kingdom, be the servant of all. And so every time we turn on that road, I start singing that little salty song. If you want to be great in God's kingdom, be the servant of all. And so it's like kind of become a lighthearted thing. Oh, you're on the path to greatness, honey, when I came down with cancer. So we just use it now, a little bit of humor and a whole lot of truth.
And it allows me then when I ask people to help, they see it as, oh, this is doable. It isn't like, Jay, please, can you come help me? Like, I'm just exhausted. I need a break. Now I'm passing my burden to you, and you're like, sure, I'll take on your burden and I'll be exhausted too.
But it's more like unto Jesus. Let's work heartily unto Jesus.
So, like, I have a familiarity with the whole situation, so I do some stuff instinctively. When I ask the kids to come help, or if I ask my brother's got a couple of kids that live close by, if I ask them to come help
with Bill's mom,
I describe for them what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, I get it. I know how to come off the bench and help. Where if it's just, hey, can you come help? They're like,
vague.
I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. I don't, but can I is it okay to touch this? Is it okay to do that? They just don't know.
Right.
But if we give direction and we define for them, hey, this is what would really help, a lot of people are willing to jump in and help at that point.
Oftentimes we can break down an overwhelming situation into bite-sized pieces. So everybody just does a little and it helps a lot.
Right.
What do you say to those caregivers? And I've heard this time and time again too. I don't want to bother people by asking for help. Even though as someone on the other side of that, everybody wants to help. They want to help you. They want to be a part. Right. But the caregiver and hey, I don't want to bother people with my problems. I don't want to bother people by asking for help.
Yeah.
I get very pastoral at that point. And I say
because that's unbiblical.
First thing I say to people is, why are you stealing their opportunity?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Stealing their blessing.
And the second thing I ask them is, if somebody asked you to help, what would you say?
Sure.
Well, I'd say sure. I go, why aren't you giving other people that privilege? So don't make this about you. Give them the opportunity to do what they were designed for.
And
Yeah.
and also in that, sometimes people are like we have lots of friends all over, and so some people can't come here to help, and so they'll even ask, what can I do from afar? And if you can think of things that people can do from a distance, there are people that, hey, I can like send you a meal, I can send you like, a card that has a gift card in it. I could do that.
One of the best gifts we got when my father was in the hospital passing away, we had friends give us a Panera gift card.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was like $100, and we never had to guess where we were going to go grab lunch real quick when we're with dad at the hospital. Little things like that just are such grand gestures. And I do think it is to say I don't want to be a bother is unbiblical, because the Bible tells us that we are to bear one another's burdens.
Sure.
Our brothers and sisters, we are called to bear their burdens with them. And I do agree 100% with you, Bill, that we've got to define those and really be very clear about that. Because earlier you had said you can't let this illness define you, or something along those lines. And I thought the same thing when you have a baby. The baby fits into our life.
Right.
We don't fit into the baby's life, And Laura was so good at this. And it was about, no, this is what's going to happen. Yes, the baby's crying, but the baby's fed, the baby's dry, the baby is not injured. So we're going to let the baby cry. And I always just, but no, that baby's not going to define us. Just like this illness is not going to define us.
His mother actually walked out of our house one night because I was letting our son cry as a like 10-month-old. She's like, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. I'm like, see ya.
So what is the key to that communication? Is there a code? Is there a key that you guys have to making the communication work?
But it's very interesting. Like, one of the questions that's always kind of hung around in my life is, when you look at Ephesians chapter 5, which is the premier passage on marriage, there are different instructions given to men and women. And I've always wondered, why are there different instructions? How come there's not just generic instructions to married people? And one of the things we discovered is the reason why there's different instructions is there's different primary needs in the life of a man and the life of a woman that need to get met in order for trust to be rock solid in marriage. So what I've discovered about like what helps Pam be able to trust me is there is a need in her life to feel secure in our relationship and in life. And most men, and I would put myself in that category early on, don't understand what that means. Like, we think security is, well, we've got a house, we got enough money, and look at me, I'm your protector, you're good. And I had to come to realize that what Pam, like, there's a question that Pam is asking every day of her life. And the question is it safe to be who I am today around you? And if I get the answer back to her, yeah, who you are today is good with me, she goes, oh, well, we're going to have a good day. And if the answer comes back, no, I don't like who you are today, then there's turmoil in the relationship. So that's generally true in marriage. It gets more intensified when there's a crisis. So the thing Pam needs to hear from me is, Pam, the warrior woman you are today, I'm proud of. I'm excited to be with. I'm not happy with everything in our life because there's a lot of circumstances right now that are challenging. But who Pam is today in her current state, I'm good with. And when she hears that message, things just settle down in our marriage. And it was there before cancer. Like I actually saw it the first time on our honeymoon. I didn't realize I was seeing it, but I look back now and I go, oh, okay, that got launched on our honeymoon.
The security need.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's like kind of a funny story that so Bill and I were out to a wonderful date, the last night of our honeymoon, and to one of those restaurants that spins at the top and there's no prices on the menu. It was like, whoa. Then we came home and we did what honeymooners do, and there's a fireplace. It's all lovely. And I have Bill's attention. So I'm like talking to him about all of my life. And somehow I started talking about all of the boyfriends that I had since like grade 7.
She was a rock star at having boyfriends.
And so Bill
On
fell
your
asleep.
honeymoon. Okay.
Yeah, Bill fell asleep and I like started to cry. You know how when you cry and you kind of do it on purpose to shake the bed cry? It was kind of that. And so he woke up and
and I'm like kind of stunned. I'm like, wow, we have had a great night. You know, things are going really well. And now Pam is crying. I said,
Why?
Pam, what is wrong? Why are you crying? Like, I thought we had a great night together.
I was talking and you fell asleep.
Yeah.
I realized later that after good sex men always fall asleep, but so I should have taken it as a compliment. But I'm like, you fell asleep.
Pam, you can say sex
But I
on this
think you're
podcast.
Say it again, Jay.
You can say sex on this podcast.
Okay.
So when Pam said, I think you're bored with me, I'm like, Pam, I think you're the most fascinating person I've ever met. That's why I married you. And I plan to spend the rest of my life getting to know you. You're not boring at all.
And I'm like, oh, I have his attention again. So then I started singing every country and Western song that I like knew of growing up. And the night ended with me standing on the bed with my hairbrush singing Tammy Wynette's Stand By Your Man. And Bill's just like,
I know. I'm like,
whoa, how did we get here?
Hey,
so he wrote.
We got to leave at 6 the next morning to go catch a
So I
flight.
finally fall asleep. I finally let him go to sleep.
To get 4 in the morning.
About 6, as the sun peeked through the window, I realized Bill's not in bed. I'm like, oh, Pam, you've done it again. You've driven it from the bed by your crazy, outrageous behavior. But I looked out the window and he was digging out. It had been like this blizzard overnight. He was digging out our car, putting chains on our car, taking care of me. And I said, Bill, wow, if there's like a test that husbands have to pass, like you have passed with flying colors, A+, 100%. I will never test you again.
Which I think she sincerely meant.
Yeah.
But this need to feel secure, like
happens all the time, day in and day out.
Like it is the driving need in a woman's heart. It's the one thing in a woman that's similar to a man's sex drive, and women want to hear that needs met over and over again. Like I don't know of any husband who would say, you know what, let's just settle the issue. Let's have one really great weekend of sex, and then we'll call it good the rest of our life. There is no man on the planet that's going to make that deal. And it's similar, this need with women. They want to hear over and over again, look, you're good with me. On the days you're unreasonable, I get it. And on the days you're easy to live with, it's great. On the days that you're emotional, I'm okay. On the days that you're really like focused and got to get stuff done, like I'm okay. Like you're okay with me. And when women hear that, they go, I can trust this man. And it becomes easy to keep conversation going.
And the interesting thing that when we were writing our book, Red Hot Monogamy, and we're studying like just the whole area of sex, that trust is the number one indicator of how and when a woman can climax. And so like that trust element, like it permeates every area of a relationship. Right. So if you ask yourself as a guy, how can I meet the success need first? She's going to be easier to live with and easier to love.
Right. And as men, we get impatient with it. We're like, can you just get to the point? Do we have to talk about this again? Why can't you just be easier to live with? Why do you have to bring up everything? And
I heard you the first 14 times.
And we want to make it more efficient. And then we wonder why our wife doesn't trust us. And if we take the time to let her connect her life to us, let her be who she is today, stay curious rather than try to fix her, all of a sudden, like because of the intensity of marriage, there's actually a line of trust in marriage. And when you're above the line of trust, marriage is easy.
It's all good. You get along. There's lots of red hot monogamy.
If you're below that
together.
Yeah, if you're below the line of trust, just about anything can be a problem.
And you argue over everything. There's not much red hot monogamy. You like don't trust the other person. You're constantly irritated.
Right. You walk in the door and say, honey, how you doing? And you get, well, what do you mean by that? Oh gosh, just say it. Lie.
Right.
Because
So-
you're below that line of trust.
Right.
Yeah.
We Greg Smalley put it this way. He said, I've been married to 4 different women, all in the same body.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what we as men have to do is let our wives know we're good with all 4.
With the 4,
With-
6,
with-
8, 10,
with
12.
however many different people you're going to be today, we're good with that. But we got to be sincere, because if there's one thing women have, it is they've got a nose for when we're not being sincere. You know, they can sniff it
Absolutely.
a long way away. And to let them know that we fell in love with them, not the fact that they were hot and 20 and, looking great. No, we fell in love with the person that you are and the things that we saw in you. But that is a constant communication.
So-
And I've never heard anyone, Bill, say that is similar to a man's sex drive.
Yeah.
Huge. That's like a light bulb for men to know, okay, my wife needs that like I need sex. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is huge.
That's a big deal.
That's as
Well,
I'm reflecting on the couples that we're working with right now, who are all in situations of unfortunate choices, and that it's affecting their marriages in huge ways. That the crux of it is both of those. The woman doesn't feel secure and trust has been broken, and the man didn't get sex and trust has been broken. And both of those, I mean, in big, huge ways. But that's exactly what it is. You didn't make me feel secure. You
Yeah.
didn't make me feel like you loved me. So therefore I went over here, and you weren't giving me sex. So therefore I went over here. I mean, that's both. I mean,
Right. And the hard part is this. Women don't understand that drive in a man, that desire for sex. And men,
Don't
because
understand.
we are men, don't understand that need for security, because
Right.
of course
Hey, I would never ask you the question, are you feeling safe today, Jay?
right.
You'd be like, what? What question is that?
yeah.
And sometimes sometimes men make the mistake, oh, this woman, there's no pleasing the woman.
Right.
So I'll just get a different one. But okay, all women have like the monthly cycle. All women will, if you have kids, have hormonal changes. All women will go through menopause. Like, you can't, every woman you get is gonna have this
That's
security
the
net.
same thing.
Well, and that goes back, and again, I'm not trying to be whatever, but that goes back to Eve.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Eve was in the Garden of Eden. It was perfection,
Yes.
but even God wasn't enough. I mean, so we give
So
ourselves.
why do you think it's gonna be
Why do,
different?
why do we think we can do the job? But no, that's part of the beauty of navigating this thing together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is
Right.
that
And
we got the opportunity to either come close together, communicate about these things, or realize that the same garbage that we have in our lives now, we're going to take to another relationship.
Yeah.
That garbage isn't going to change.
Yeah.
And this is so hard for people to understand, because they think the next person's going to make me happy. Well, no, because you're the one that's the reason you're not happy.
Right.
but
Right.
in my experience, Jay, I think most guys think that they have married a buddy who looks way better than all of his guy friends.
And is willing to have sex with us.
And then he gets married and realizes I married a woman and I don't know what to do with it.
Very different.
You
Yeah.
know,
And in the same way, like, there's a primary need in us men's life
Right.
that needs to get met, that women don't necessarily understand that need any better than we do.
And it's the need for success. And husbands want to be successful in all areas of life. Of course, they want to be successful at work, in their career, in the community, at church, with the kids, but they mostly want to be successful with their wives.
In the bedroom.
They want to know they wowed them. And
Right.
so the number one thing that we can do is to meet that success need first. And he's going to be easier to live with and easier to love. And sometimes it's called like the male ego, and it's like a real thing, just like, our monthly cycle is a real thing. So early in our marriage, so we got back from our honeymoon and we went to this birthday party, And we lived in Bakersfield. Everybody has a pool there because it's so hot. And we were dancing. Bill's a great dancer. So we were dancing. And that's one of the things I love about your getaway weekends at the Grand. There's always that's option to dance. So that's a little side note why it's so great to go hear you at the Grand. So we were dancing and Bill did this great like dip move and dropped me on the ground.
On the ground.
I'm cement. And I'm like, honey, why am I on the cement? Why am I down here?
And I
Bill
tried
said,
to whisper to Pam, I just ripped my pants.
"Look," and I spun him around. I'm like, you guys, Bill just ripped his pants. And I thought it was funny. Bill did not think it was funny. I thought it was funny. Bill did not think it was funny. It was like this long, quiet ride home. And I learned, wow, probably not really good to point out flaws in my husband in public. It's not even that great in private, but definitely not in public.
Yeah.
Well, how could I have helped him succeed in that situation? What could I have done different?
Like I was surprised at how wounded I was by that.
Yeah.
And that's generally true of men is when we feel like we can't succeed. Like when men feel like I don't know how to talk to my wife, I don't know how to succeed in the conversation, he just starts backing out. I don't know how to make a decision with my wife. So he backs out.
And that's what happens a lot of times. I see women come to me complaining that their husbands won't step up. And I have been watching them, like maybe for the last 10 years, tell him every day, you're stupid. You should do things my way. Like, you're the dumbest man in the whole world. Why couldn't you do like she's just been putting him down for 10 years, a whole decade. And all of a sudden she wants him to rise up and handle this challenge. But you've been sending him out of the room and you've been putting him down. You've patterned him to not succeed with you. And that's it. That's like, if I could tell women anything is be gracious, be kind, be life-giving with your words, help your husband feel successful, and he'll turn into Superman. That's Bill's like nickname I have for Bill is Superman, because I think he can fix anything. He's just knows in his heart that I believe that whatever the situation is, there's going to be a way forward for us to succeed together, because I believe that Bill and God are a dynamic duo, and God has allowed me the joy of walking alongside of him. So,
And I don't think most women understand the power that they have
with their words.
with their words.
Mhm.
I mean, you're either building him up or you're tearing him down. There's no neutral.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and this we're speaking from experience, Laura thought her job was to keep my ego in check. Well, she's learned that that's not the case,
Sure.
that her job is to build me up so that I can lead. And the reality is, we'll be working with a couple, and if we sit across from them and we say, okay, sir, tell us what you love about your wife. And he'll have a laundry list of what he loves about his wife, because he's compartmentalized all those bad things into stuff he doesn't love. And then we say, okay, now what are you proud about him? And she is tight-lipped. You can watch that man shrink before your very eyes. He will literally shrink in the couch, because having that affirmation from the woman that he loves, the one woman that he cares more about than anybody else, is life-giving. And then what most women don't understand, and what Laura has, is once you give that life, that man will do anything for you.
Yeah.
Scale a mountain, slay a dragon, go shoe shopping. I will do anything,
And unfortunately, we're living in a culture that's all about killing, toxic masculinity. I'm not going to feed his ego because we don't need any more toxic masculinity in this world. And I mean, I hear that from the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings. And I'm like, you're not understanding what we're talking about here in your marriage. You're not talking about your husband is toxic. No, he's the person that you chose to marry, that God gave you, you fell in love with. Your job is to build him up, not bring him down. And we, as women, and especially a younger generation, are really buying into this culture that's saying, no, we need to take men down. a notch. We need to take them down because of this ego that, we can't deal with. And we've got to start speaking out and educating married couples, especially the younger generation, that, no, you need to be building each other up. You're a team. God brought you together for a reason. And, you don't have to deal with some other man's ego. You just need to deal with this man's ego and build it up. And,
And Jay, like, we know we're not perfect.
The,
Like
the-
we know we have flaws. We can
My
point
God.
out.
Hey.
society
I
is
think it's about time we
workplace.
wrap this conversation up. We're heading down some dangerous territories.
But
life will knock you down. You don't need your spouse to do it.
That's right.
we
Pam,
haven't
I want to say that just a few moments ago, you were singing the praises of Bill. You were talking about how he's a hero and how he's done so many incredible, he's a leader and all of those things. I just want you to know that as the guy in charge of editing this podcast, I will also be clipping those little portions out and applying them in other things that I do, because all of them contain Bill is this and this and this and that. It's really good.
Hey, there we go.
That's
Are you
where
gonna plan for Ellen? You're gonna make a tape so Ellen can
A
listen to all
mixtape
of
for Ellen, huh, Bill?
that is where fake news comes from, and I'm all about it. I can't say thank you enough to Bill and Pam for sharing their journey, and I think you all get the impression accurately. We could do this for about 4 more hours.
Yes, that's why
This
we
is such
love
an
you,
edifying conversation, and the good news is you can get more of the impact of the information and of the inspiration from Bill and Pam Farrel. Their website is love-wise, W-I-S-E, love-wise.com. All the books, all the speaking engagements, podcasts, that's where you want to go to dig into more of their journey. And it's such rich stuff for all of us. And we'll be hearing from listeners for a long time to come as a result of this conversation. Can't thank the two of you enough for setting an example and for openly sharing a challenging chapter in life and to keeping a smile on your face all the way through. Thank you so much. And here's my encouragement, folks. Take the link to this podcast, audio or video form, and share it with people that you know are facing similar issues, similar challenges that could very well threaten the fabric of their relationship. And let them know firsthand that you want to invest in them. Maybe you want to be a part of their team, or be a part of their bench strength to come in and help along the way. And as much as anything else, to make sure they know they're not alone in this. You have heard that exemplified quite clearly in the last several minutes. So Bill and Pam, thank you so much. And we'll look forward to talking with everybody again next time on Marriage Talk.